Hi, we're going to go over required documentation when it comes to obtaining a mortgage, specifically income and assets and a few other things. So, first up, income. We typically need 30 days of pay stubs when it comes to your income. And then I like to call it the rule of two. So, two most recent years of your W 2s. And if you are self employed or if we are using any sort of additional income like interest and dividend income or anything like that, we would probably need your two most recent years of your tax returns.
And for our retired borrowers, we can use Social Security income using your award letter, pensions with also the pension award letter. We can use income from an annuity, and we can also use your retirement assets from either a 401k or an IRA, and that can start as quickly as if you're 59 and a half. So we can do that based on the distribution that you're receiving. If you're moving here from another state or moving from another state, what we would generally ask for is a relocation letter from your employer. And if they allow you to work remotely, they're also going to need to put in writing that you can work remotely if we're going to use the property as your primary residence.
And then when it comes to assets, again, rule of two, we typically need your two most recent checking and savings, stocks, bonds, your retirement accounts. Those may be quarterly. We do need all pages. They do need to reference your name, account number, and then the institution as well. If you are utilizing retirement funds for reserves, for withdrawal, or anything like that, we do need the terms of withdrawal for the account as well, just to state that you are able to utilize them and take them out. And then that's also typically only going to be for a primary residence that we can use those for reserves, because for a second home or investment property, there's probably like a 99% chance that they are not going to be eligible to be taken out in the event that you need them for anything other than a primary residence.
And then when using assets, we need to source the assets, which is basically fancy for we need to know where the money's coming from. So any large deposits that are not payroll related, that are generally from anywhere between 25 to 50% more than what your income is, we're going to need to know where that came from. We can use gift funds, and that can be money that's gifted to you from a relative as well. And then another scenario too is if you're on an account with a family member, instead of using it as gift funds, we can use what's called an access letter that the other party would just write and says, John Smith has access to any and all funds in this account to be used towards this purchase.
Yeah. Basically, we like to try to go with the path of least resistance when we're doing the mortgage, and that's why we like to collect documentation up front after pre-approval to get the loan into underwriting, just to make sure that we have everything and then we've crossed all of our T's and dotted all of our I's. So if we go to housing, there is some documentation that's going to be required when we're looking at housing. And it just depends on what you're doing with your existing property. If you are not selling ahead of time and you're retaining it, then we need the most recent mortgage statement, your insurance and tax bills, and if there are association dues, whether monthly, quarterly, or annually, we'll need a copy of the HOA bills as well. Your letter of explanation on intent. So if you intend to not sell right away or maybe list afterwards, a lot of people are doing it right now, doing non-contingent. We just need to know what your intent is with that property, whether you're going to sell afterwards, rent it out, just some sort of a letter of intent on that, and then that your intent is to purchase the new property as your primary residence. And then for certain programs, but not for too many, we might need a landlord verification of rent. And so usually we just ask for the landlord information, and we do either a verification of rent form or a credit supplement, just depending on what details we have on that landlord.
Then some of the documentation that we'll need for after we've run your credit and reviewed it is if there are any derogatory accounts like late payments or collections, we may need a letter of explanation from you explaining what those are from. It's not always going to be required. It just depends on what your overall scenario is. If you are either receiving or paying alimony or child support, we may also, if we need to use that income for you to qualify, we'll ask for a copy of that marriage settlement agreement. If you're paying it, we are going to need to see that to see how much you're paying, when it's going to continue, how long it's going to continue. And in the unlikely event, in the unfortunate event, if you've had a bankruptcy or a foreclosure, we'll need to see those bankruptcy and foreclosure documents. So those you should have handy from your attorney when that event happened. If you can't, we can always direct you to where you can find those.
And then once you're pre-approved, we can definitely pre-approve based on verbal information and information we receive through our online application. But we love to collect all of this documentation so that we can take it a step further and upgrade your pre-approval to our power bid approval so it's fully underwritten. It really helps in a competitive environment when there's multiple offers on properties. It just helps paint you as a buyer in the best light to the seller. So if you have any further questions, we are more than happy to answer anything that you have. Feel free to either email us, DM us, or go ahead and just apply right on our website. You can apply for a forward mortgage. There's a link for personal loans. There's a lot of great information on there at Theriault-Fazio team.com.